So today's video, we're going to talk about, in a very sort of, a little bit of an abstract sense, about how to pace your script. Pacing in a script is probably one of the most, in my opinion, probably the most important thing. If you really had to pick something, you can have great characters, great story, but if the pacing is a mess, it's it's unsalvageable. And obviously, it's a very like diluted way of presenting that idea, but you get the point. So when it comes to pacing, I've come up with four ways that have worked for me, and that in general, when I've workshopped with other writers on their script, it has worked for them. Obviously, these aren't like the only ways you can work and develop on pacing your script better, but these are effective to some degree. And the first one is a very obvious one, which is when you're done writing your script, read it out loud. When you read it out loud, you can genuinely hear where the pacing is off. And even better if you can get a table read together. Obviously, this may be hard if you have a lot of characters or if you're doing a feature length script, but try to get as many people together and just have them read it out loud, have them do a table read, and you can just feel and hear the pacing when it's on and when it's off. And that is probably the easiest way, and to figure out like if there's any pacing issues. Now, how you fix it is pretty simple. Is if there are certain parts in the script that are slow or that from one scene to the next seem very choppy, you're just gonna have to do the legwork and take notes as you're reading it out loud or as you're listening to this table read, and pinpoint exactly where those choppy parts are and where those slow or bits that are too fast are. And you're going to have to start working on the rewrites and kind of just going through a trial and error process like you normally would do. Second one, and this one's a little bit more difficult and this one takes a little bit more time. But if you develop this, it will kind of alleviate the struggle for pacing later on in your kind of like writing career, writing pursuit. And that is write with a distinct voice. So if you're just starting out, that's going to be something very hard to do because you don't really know what your voice is. But over time, you have to really figure out like what your distinct voice is, what your sort of writing style is. And as you start to develop and hone in on that, you're going to be able to kind of like the pacing's going to fall in order, not automatically, but a lot more accurately in the way that you intend than if you just kind of write, for lack of a better term, blindly. A really, really good example of what I mean by writing with a distinct voice is someone like Aaron Sorkin. So obviously, I'm not saying write like Aaron Sorkin, but Aaron Sorkin, his scripts have a very distinct voice. You can read his scripts and know that it's written by him. The other thing is too is he's developed his voice to have a certain pacing to it. He has that very snappy dialogue, and even the action parts of a script are written in a very particular way. And kind of good example of how his voice helps him control pacing is The Social Network. The original script for The Social Network was about 150 pages, or the shooting draft, or whatever they were going to use for the movie, was about 150 pages long. And obviously, one page equals 1 minute. So executives were pretty worried that the movie was going to run 2.5 hours. But David Fincher was telling the executives that they didn't need any rewrites. They didn't need to cut the script down because of Aaron Sorkin's distinctive voice. He knew that the pacing was going to be 2 hours or slightly under. So what he had an executive do was allow him to read the script in Aaron Sorkin's like writing, like his distinctive voice, and time it. And when he read through the 150-page script, he finished at right around 2 hours. So that is like why it's important to really figure out and hone in on a distinctive voice, because it'll allow you so much control over a script. And the truth, it's true for the opposite. If you develop a voice that's a little bit more calm, slow, and patient, you can write a script that's 90 pages knowing that your voice is going to have it really extend longer to about 110 pages when it's all said and done. So That's really important, but that takes a lot of time, and it's something that you should always work on, regardless of whether it's for the purpose of pacing or not. The third thing is kind of like an overlap of this, like time. Time is something that really it takes you time to learn how to pace a script. That's something I think a lot of people overlook. They can give you techniques, they can give you little exercises, but it takes time. Like you're not going to figure out how to write with consistent, smooth pacing in a month, in 6 months. It really does kind of take years. So that's something you need to kind of put in your brain right then and there, that it is going to be a long investment to figure that out. Now, the fourth thing is a little bit more like outside the box. When it comes to pacing, pacing is also a visual thing. So obviously, like you can read your script out loud, you can figure out a voice, you can commit time to learning how to pace your script. But one thing is it's a visual thing. And what I mean by that is you can either print out your script or pull up your script on a PDF and just look at the pages like from afar, like a visual piece. And you can see just the way the arrangement of the action, the dialogue, and anything else like that, you can see if it's going to look paced or not. Like if you notice that you have a block of text this fat at the top and then just the little things of dialogue at the bottom, and the next page is just dialogue, fat block, dialogue, dialogue, you can figure out that that pacing is going to probably be a little bit off. And so you have to look at the visual aspect of the script and try to find a little bit more flow in the way it's written from a visual aspect. Obviously, that doesn't apply 100% to the script, but it really is helpful. That is something that I've learned, especially when I've printed out scripts and just kind of looked at them. I can see, like, oh, the reason why this pacing is so choppy is because I just have big blocks of unnecessary text all over the place. Let me take those blocks out and let me just kind of simplify it. Or the opposite, it's too simplified. Maybe I need to add more action. Maybe I need to add more dialogue. And it ends up working itself out in most cases. So yeah, that's pretty much it for as far as like pacing. Those are just four things. There's more things that you can do, and but I think those are kind of like the easiest things to kind of just sort of implement. Those are just sort of like the easiest things to implement. Again, just like read your script out loud. If you can have a table read, get a table read, or do both. Figure out your distinctive voice and really, really develop it. Understand that it's going to take time, and learn to like examine your script from a visual aspect. If you can kind of start practicing those four things on a continuous basis, I can be very confident that you're going to improve your pacing in your script a considerable amount.